Can we be honest for a second? I don't think that this season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta was bad by any stretch of the imagination, right? It was actually a solid season. But if I had to sum up one word to describe this season, it would be confusing. There were moments that reminded me of exactly why RHOA is the creme de la creme of housewives. But there were also episodes that had me wondering, what was production even trying to do? So before the reunion start, let's talk about what actually worked, what completely flopped, and who won season 17. Welcome back to the Tears Take. I upload reality recaps and commentary. If you love reality TV, especially those crazy housewives, then this is the place for you. In this video, we are rating and grading the entire season of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 17. Hit me up in the comments below as you go along in this video and let me know your thoughts. I'm always interested in reading those. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to give a few categories and just give an overall rating for the season, okay? So first category is entertainment. I'm going to give entertainment for season 17 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta a solid B. I definitely looked forward to each episode, but I'm a rewatch girly, and there wasn't really any episode this season that compelled me to rewatch. So that's why I had to give it a B. I think the season started off promising. It started off strong, but then it grew to be really repetitive. Listen, I know Shamia is not a favorite by any stretch. I definitely have my grievances with her and my opinions on her as well. But it got really tiring to just see the majority of the cast like pile on her. And I think a lot of it is warranted, but I think, I don't know, I feel like she was an easy target, similar to Drew last year. And I feel like for someone like Drew, who experienced that last year, this year, she kind of participated in the pile-on a little bit. So that Shamia pile-on was kind of annoying. And I also think there was too much focus on like the reads and trying to like get a one-liner, trying to have a shady confessional. And I think it was a little too forced instead of having authentic conflict and authentic resolution. It was always like you have to be on guard, you have to get your read out, you have to like say something to zing that person, you have to dig up some tea on them. And it's like, I don't know. Yes, that's kind of like what housewives have evolved to, but when the show becomes too focused on that, it's just not that entertaining. You need to give me the reads and the shade and the gossip. That definitely needs to be a piece of the pie. It doesn't need to be 90% of the pie. And I think some of that the production obviously has a big hand in. So we'll talk about production in a bit. But so I definitely think it's not just the cast driving it. Definitely is production highlighting it. But I think as far as like entertainment, it's just not entertaining. After the third read and the third, ooh, girl, this is what I heard. It's like, okay, and the words of Cynthia Bailey. And what else is going on? Take us to that business meeting where you're not twerking. Tell us honestly what's happening in your family. Give us real story. And I feel like the girls, or at least what was highlighted, it was very much, we're going to skim the surface of something semi-personal, and the focus is going to be, I heard this, I heard that, and it's like, all right. So you guys get my drift there. Like I said, a lot of these issues could be a production thing, but overall, I would say it was solidly entertaining. So the next category is authenticity. So this kind of ties into what I was saying earlier. I'm giving that rating a C-. Okay, we got some generally good story. We saw, Pinky really struggling with her finances of her restaurant. Later on this season, she mentioned, how that stress kind of affects her in her home life. We have Kelly. I think she gave the most authentic story, having this like horrendous ex-husband, and talking about how that divorce and paying for the divorce is affecting her, paying for her businesses, and is affecting, being able to film with her kids and things like that. Fine. For the most part, the cast gave some pretty good story. Portia gave us some little light story about, dating and trying to date casually and explore. You guys know, I don't need to run through everything. I think for the most part, everyone gave us a piece of authentic story, minus Phaedra. Phaedra gave us nothing. If y'all can name Phaedra's personal story, please drop it down below. But when I think about it, I got nothing. Okay, so for the most part, we got the authentic story, but we didn't get enough of it, and I don't think it was told effectively. Again, that's more of a production issue. We'll talk about that later. But the authentic piece was there. It just wasn't focused on. Again, we focused a lot on conflict this season, and I think the issue where I think the main reason I was kind of put off by the conflict, not only was it repetitive, it wasn't authentic. And I think that was the crux of the issue. If there was some real love there, real friendship there, real hurt and real conflict, then I would be invested and I would care and I would want to see more, and I would want to kind of see what happens. But I feel like these people who don't hang out with each other, who don't like each other, are there for the check, there for the clout. They were put together at a table and they were like, okay, if you want to keep your spot, you better drop some reads and you better, get the fans to like you so that you can get asked back next season. And everyone just kind of came in performing, and that was that, and that's what we saw. The authenticity was missing with Angela going for Shamia's throat the entire season. Yes, Shamia was not innocent, but Angela, you cannot make the audience believe that you forgive Portia for saying she's going to sleep with your husband, but then you drag Shamia for the entire season for laughing at that. That doesn't make sense. Give us a real reason why you have this animosity. It was animosity. It wasn't even like little ha-ha shade. It was like calling her out of her name. You're digging up stories. You're lying. You're interfering with her marriage when you didn't, God forbid anyone talks about Charles. Like, it was too much. And for what? You have become what Andy Cohen was trying to warn Stacey about. Don't let the Bravo fandom blow your head up your first season and you become a favorite to come back second season and show your entire behind. He told Stacey that in so many words. You did it because I really liked you last season. I thought you flopped at your reunion, but I'm like, okay, that's, your first reunion, fine. But overall, I thought you had a really strong season last year. This year, I could not stand you. I could not stand you. Anyway, we're talking about the authentic category. Your beef with Shamia, it wasn't authentic. It didn't come from an authentic place. I didn't care about it. It was overboard. It was too much. It was lazy. Oh, you're a hoe. Okay, and she's a hoe. Her husband likes it. What's the problem? And what else is going on? Like, who cares? Anyway, towards the end of the season, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention, what were the jabs between Kelly and Angela? When did they have beef? Did I miss something? Did I miss an episode? I don't know where, the two of them started having issues. Again, could be a storytelling issue, but where did that come from? What was going on in K. Michelle's head that she had this one-sided issue with Drew the whole season? These issues were not authentic. And that's why I didn't care about any of it. So while we got, commingled teeth and we got a couple of little lines and we got some sparks throughout the season due to it, it was, now that I mention it, I don't know. I feel like C- is a little too high of a grade. Let me know below what you would rate authenticity this season. Maybe it's a D. I don't know. I think C minus is fine. I think we got some personal story. I feel like that was authentic, but mixed with the conflict was manufactured. So we'll meet in the middle, C. And like I said, I think the conflict and the lazy reads and the rehearsed reads dragged it down to the C minus. Never mind, we're keeping it C minus. But let me know what your rating is. So next category is cast chemistry. I'm going to give it a B. Now, this season, it has been mentioned by the cast and maybe by some fans that it was a fractured group. And honestly, like most Housewives seasons, tend to be. There tends to be the talls and the smalls, the brunettes and the blondes, the Fox 4-5 and those like not in the Fox 4-5. Like, there always tends to be, 2 or 3 different cliques in the group. Fine. But I will say I gave this a pretty high rating because overall the cast did show moments and glimmers of coming together. I liked the moment of them at the skate party, having fun at the basketball tournament. So they did have it in them to come together. And I think Atlanta, over probably most of the other franchises, I feel like Atlanta can definitely go lower than other franchises, but Atlanta can also come together more than the other franchises and find some sisterhood moments more so than the other franchises. And so it's an interesting dichotomy. But, as much as I get on Atlanta for like the lazy reads and things like that, I think we also need to give Atlanta their flowers because they do come together to usually support each other's businesses. They come together when someone's really down and out or having, a hard time. They always, I will say, this is probably the most charitable franchise. They're not just cutting checks. They are actually doing things, hosting events, shining light on different causes and, things like that. So, for that, I do want to give them their flowers. So anyways, back to cast chemistry. But back to cast chemistry. So that's why I'm going to give them a B because they have it in them to be adults and, come together. I think obviously when the groups were separated into the Go Naked clique and like the newbies, I feel like the individual cliques had their own, chemistry that went really well. And you can see there was an underlying, budding friendship or some semblance of a friendship in both of those cliques, even though things are a little shaky with the Shamia K. Michelle one, but, whatever, we'll see about that at the reunion. But I will say the more dynamic group to watch was the Go Naked clique. Portia, Phaedra, Cynthia, Angela, Drew, they all together are just effortlessly funny. Sister moment in Scotland, I really liked that and I really appreciated it, and that's why I rated cast chemistry a B. Okay, so next we have drama. I'm giving it a C minus. This, I already spoke on it. A lot of the drama seemed really manufactured and forced. Some of the reads seemed rehearsed. Some people just seemed like they wanted a moment. Some people, had it in their head. Okay, well, if she says this about me, I'm going to pull this out. And if she does this, this is going to be the gotcha moment. And it just seemed really forced. I'm sorry, Shamia, even though I don't like that a lot of them, kind of judge you more harshly than the others or, are slower to forgive you or, as much as I think there was a bit of a pile-on, Shamia, like, saying that thing about Portia's mom, unless something was edited out the way that we saw it, it came out of nowhere. And so it sounded like, well, Shamia literally said, oh, I had the opportunity or I took the opportunity to say that. So it seems like your producer or somebody was like, girl, we're running out of time this season. You got to have your conflict with Portia. Go have your conflict with Portia. It seemed like someone was in your ear telling you, girl, time's running out of this season. Portia's been paying you dust. You need to confront her. And that's what it seemed like. It seemed like you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it came out of nowhere. And on that note, the Portia and Shamia conflict, or drama, that would have been the most interesting, because again, I care about the underlying like realness to it, and the fact that whether they were best friends or weren't best friends, now we're starting to get more context to their history. They have history nonetheless. And so there's something there that I would care about to see as a viewer. And even though it's painful for them, they're getting paid they're getting paid a lot of money to put it out there. And so I would have been more invested to see how they navigate this, more so than someone like Angela, who's known Shamia for 2 years, doesn't really have a real beef, screaming at her for being a hoe across the table. Like that, I don't care about that. It's stupid. I care about real friendships, falling out, Shamia's deep resentment from being a people pleaser and being in Portia's shadow, Portia being thrown off because she's like, girl, you were happily my lapdog for 20 years and now you got a camera in your face and a peach in your hand, and now where's all this rah-rah coming from? Like, I would have liked to see that. And not even that it needed to be them like cursing each other out. I would have liked to see maybe 3 different sit-downs throughout the season of them kind of working through their issues together. That would have been interesting to see. That's something I would care about, not the manufactured, oh, you got a wife in the basement, which we never heard of again. Oh, you're take your wig off, you're a boy, Damon. Like, I don't know. I would have rather seen that than the drama that we did get. So that's why drama is getting a C- for this season. The next topic is production. So production was all over the place this season. I think I mentioned it on Threads early on in the season. Follow me on Threads if you're not. But I don't know what they were doing. It seemed like they maybe had a new editing crew every week or every 2 weeks. It doesn't seem like there was a cohesive style throughout the entire season. It seemed like in the beginning of the season, they were very heavy-handed with the effects and the graphics and this and the Simon Ghost, and it was just like a lot of it almost started looking like a scripted series rather than a reality docu-series, that we're used to. And, little flashes of editing here and there, I don't mind, but it seemed very heavy-handed in the first few weeks. And then it seemed like someone told them, hey, that's too much, reel it in. Some people don't like that. I don't know. And then I feel like they would do like these little like unnecessary like captions on the screen, like trying to be petty or shady, which I felt like were stupid. Like when they were calling, I think they were giving nicknames to like different duos in the group. So they were like freaking frack. And obviously that's Portia and Phaedra. Fine. But then they were talking about Drew and Angela, and they called Drew something that no one really calls her, and then called Angela Bigfoot. And I'm like, it was weird. Like, I feel like they kept trying to do these like cute little things, and to me it didn't land. It might have landed with other people. Let me know below if you liked the editing this season. But to me, I was like, do you guys have freelancers that it's like, hey, do you want to edit this episode? Okay, do you want to edit next episode? Okay, do you want to sign on for the next 2 episodes? Like, it seemed like it was so disjointed. That's the word, disjointed. So like the editing itself seemed disjointed. The storytelling didn't seem disjointed. It was kind of like, hey, let's everyone talk about their personal stories in episode 2. And then, oh guys, it's episode 20 and we have 22 episodes this season. I don't know how many episodes they had. How many did they have? I don't know. Let's say they had 20 episodes. Hey guys, it's episode 18. We got to talk about those personal stories again. So let's do a montage and throw in, okay, Drew at court and Kelly in the Phaedra's office and Angela having a sit down with her daughter for the 18th time and ask her why she's married. Let's put these stories in a bow because next week's the finale. Like, that's what it seemed like. It gave very rushed. It was like personal story, manufactured mess, personal story, finale. That's literally probably the storyboard of production this season, right? I feel like whoever produced Pinky did a terrible job. Pinky had way too many things going on. You know, we love a housewife that does many things, but pick a thing per season. Pinky literally had 10 things happen this season and 5 more things since the season has aired. I get it. I'm here for someone just finding their way and having different interests. I'm not saying you need to be one thing all the time, but we just met you, Pinky. So, like, let us get to know you first before it's like your kids acting, your bankruptcy, your wrote a book, you're filming a special. Like, it's a lot. So whoever actually filmed Pinky and like produced her, because each of the girls have their own producer, whoever produced her and was on the sidelines like, this is it, they need to go. Because I would have been like, girl, you gotta reel this in. This story don't make sense. No, keep it aligned. Show us the casting process of your movie. Show us the script writing, show us the storyboarding, show us the wardrobe, show us the makeup, show us the finances and how that's going to affect your business finances. Show us, you know, working on this and maybe that took time away from, like, make it make sense. It was too many things to keep track of. Whoever produced K. Michelle needs to go, and I honestly think K. Michelle needs to go. But, again, if I was K. Michelle's producer, I would have been like, girl, you look crazy. Whether there is something happening behind the scenes or not, on camera, you look like you're paranoid and delusional and having one-sided beefs and people, green Martians in your head, telling you about a conspiracy. You gotta name names, speak up, tell us who, what, when, where, and how, show us receipts, or leave it on the playground. Don't be yelling off into space when you have the alleged conspirators in your face trying to calm you down. Call them out in the moment. Don't go on Twitter and then come down for breakfast crying. Like, I don't know. Yes, it's a reality show, so you have to let them live reality, but we also know that producers are very hands-on. And I think the showrunner or the individual producer in the field should have stepped in at some point to, like, redirect some of these women, because I just don't think it was good, in my opinion. I think it could have been a lot better. Like I said, the style wasn't cohesive. So we've seen like, 2, maybe 3 on-the-fly confessionals when they are actually giving a confessional in the moment. I think Portia definitely did one, and I forget, maybe someone else did as well. And I was like, oh wow, they're bringing back that classic old school housewives, you know, in the moment on-the-fly confessional. That's great. But then it fell off after episode 5. I don't think we've seen it since then. So it's little things like that I'm like, who's in charge here? We can do better. Okay, y'all, so let's talk about some of the highlights, the biggest wins, and some of the biggest misses of season 17 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay, so listen, I'm going to give the most entertaining cast member award to Portia Williams. Now, love her or hate her, she was funny, she shined on the screen, and she chose her battles. I am not a Portia stan by any stretch of the imagination, but I loved watching her. You can't deny that she's a star. She definitely has an it factor. She's charismatic, she's gorgeous, she's hilarious, she lightens the mood. I knew I was going to get a good scene when I saw Portia, and that's just it. She's always able to invoke something, and I think, you know, she did a great job this season of being part of the mess, and she had her like run-ins with Kelly, even though a lot of that was manufactured. This married pastor on a plane, like, that's the kind of dumb stuff that was annoying. But, you know, Kelly is a great agitator, and she definitely activated Portia. And so we got Portia activated a few times this season after she got things rolling with Kelly this season. But then she also chose to pay Shamia dust most of the season. And she also tried to, I think there was some background stuff going on with K. Michelle, but on camera, she made it seem like she was a great friend and a great mentor and, you know, all the things. And so anyway, Do I believe that Portia is like a new changed person? No. But do I believe that she changed her behavior so that we can receive her better and help to turn the narrative from some of her past mistakes? Yes, and I think she did a great job. And like I said, you know, the things that she has done and the things that maybe she is still doing, who knows, that stuff aside, you cannot deny that she has star power. So, Portia, girl, come get your baddie chain. Okay. I will say, who surprised me the most this season was Pinky. So, even though I just dragged her a couple minutes ago about doing too much, I will say, you know, earlier in the season, I was like, okay, girl, stop talking about bankruptcy. This is supposed to be a show about fabulosity. I want my sisters to be just living a soft, beautiful, rich life. I don't want to see anybody on the struggle bus here. So all of the bankruptcy and the tears got on my nerves early on, but once that calmed down, I think Pinky really found her sweet spot with being kind of the group, like pot stirrer and mini producer. I think she does a good job of trying to put things on the table or trying to ask, or trying to ask, hey, like, where are you guys at? Are you guys good? Oh, I sensed something with you two. You guys good? I think she did good as a first season newbie of trying to move story along, trying to get reactions out of people, trying to clear things up, asking the right questions. And I think she deserves another season to help like refine that. And because we just talked about the group being so fractured, you need people that can go in between the groups. She's kind of like the new Cynthia, except she's not a follower. Sorry, Cynthia. But she plays, I can see her stepping into that role of being someone who can float in between the groups, ask what needs to be asked, and hopefully be a little less biased. Because Miss Cynthia Bailey, you were kind of getting on my nerves in the second half of the season with how biased you were. So I think you can pass the baton to Miss Pinky. You can go on and be in Click Go Naked and let Pinky be the one to kind of be the intermediary between the two groups. And then I already touched on this, but I want to highlight it again. What I appreciated this season were the sisterhood moments. Supporting Angela while she was grieving her mother. Cheering on K. Michelle in the finale, and just, you know, most of them were singing her song and like really showing up for her. Phaedra working pro bono for Kelly. Shamia letting Kelly get on her feet in her townhouse while, you know, she kind of gets a more permanent residence up and running. So I really appreciate those moments because, again, they're far and few between, but they're honestly the highlights of the season. And they were for me. Okay, I'm going to talk about some of the biggest misses this season. Things that I'm just like, this could have been better. I already touched on a lot of it. Again, I think a lot of it is production and the way it was, pieced together. But, you know, I'm going to just call out a few things, and I want to hear from you if you agree. Okay, so what happened to the scheme? Like, what happened to the scheme that Todd set up, or that Phaedra and Portia and Drew set up? You know, K. Michelle had a 2-episode meltdown about some alleged conspiracy, and she had a 2-minute sit down with Portia, had some drinks. They forgot to even mention the scheme, and they were like, yeah, girl, we're good. Huh? What are you talking about? And then, was it Phaedra had some scene there was like some deleted scene that was only referenced in a flashback of them kind of talking more about it. I think it was Phaedra and K. Michelle did like some activity together, and they had talked about it, but then it was only referenced briefly. Like, why didn't we get more of that? So it was just like a weird, like, big moment of the season that kind of just fizzled out. I wish that production would have intervened and told K. Michelle, like, no, you need to tell Portia and the rest of the group what you are accusing them of. You need to, like, clear this up. Like, it was weird that it was, like, this whole big thing, and then 2 episodes later, it's like, poof. I already talked about the fake conflict, but that was something else that, again, was just a big miss for me. The audience is very savvy and can see through the rehearsed reads. And, you know, like I said, I'm sick. I think Angela really clicked down. I think she was like the MVP of fake conflict this season. And I don't want to see moving forward of you're sleeping with him or you slept with him unless you have video evidence and you were in the room with them, because even video evidence at this point can be AI. Unless you were in the room with them and you have a receipt, leave it on the playground. Unless it was with your man, please tell the class why you care. Because I personally don't care who's sleeping with who. As long as it ain't with my man, I don't care. It's weird. Find something else to fight about. So that was a big miss of the season, in my opinion. And then I think another miss was the personal storytelling. Again, I think most of this is production. I think production thinks the audience cares about this fake conflict and the audience doesn't care about the personal side. In my opinion, it needs to be a better balance. And if there is conflict, it needs to be from a real place. And I think there was just like some inconsistencies with the storytelling. Like Drew was dating Black, wasn't dating Black. This Terry person coming in with a horse, like that was weird. She didn't like Terry, but then he ghosted her. But then who cares? You know, Phaedra's personal story was non-existent. Angela's story was so, I do not resonate with it because I don't believe it, and I'm just waiting. I feel like there's an element that she keeps trying to hide, and I'm like, don't bring it up unless you're going to tell us the whole story. And I honestly feel like I think it was in the finale whenever Angela's daughter FaceTimed her wife, I feel like that was a pickup scene. I feel like production, meaning I feel like this was filmed like after the season wrapped, and I feel like production has been seeing the comments throughout the season and was like, oh, this story is not resonating with our crown jewel Angela. Let's do her a solid and try to get some more context about this relationship. And I think they did a pickup scene and they were like, okay, well, you keep talking about this mystery wife. You're going to have to FaceTime her. You're going to have to film her in some way. Okay. And then you're going to have to ask her. And then Charles, you need to interact with Amari because we've never seen them two talk. And then, so I think that was a pickup scene, and I think production saw what we were saying earlier on in the season, and I think they were trying to do Angela a solid to give a little bit more context and details, and honestly, it moved the dial like in half an inch. Like, I still personally don't care about this story. I still don't care about Amari. I'm sorry, I don't care. We don't know Amari enough to care about her wife who we just met on FaceTime in the finale. Like, I don't care. And unless you guys can get down to the crux as to why you're afraid to tell people that you're gay and married to a woman, leave it on the playground. All of this tiptoeing and tap dancing around of, oh my God, did you tell your siblings? I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know. I don't care. So again, producers, you need to get more out of the talent, or tell them, y'all need to pivot because you're losing me with this story. All right, y'all. Let's rapid fire through some report cards now. So, Miss Portia, I'm going to give you an A-. Like I said, a joy to watch. I think you did all the things. You gave us looks. You gave us, shade. You gave us conflict. You gave us resolution. You gave us family and personal story. You did all the things. It was kind of like check, 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 check. Obviously, you didn't touch on the most personal and the most authentic pieces. Like, we have yet to dive into that divorce with Simon. You kind of just moved on and was like, I'm dating a man, I'm dating a woman. But we don't know any ugly details of the divorce with Simon. Obviously, you have avoided Shamia all season. So I got to dock you a little bit for those. And obviously, that whole, like, how you were I think you were lying about Kelly, or I think you were adding sauce to whatever happened with Kelly on the plane. So, had to dock you for that. But overall, You were the star of the season, the MVP of the season. You checked all the boxes. I just don't believe all of them. Portia stands, don't come for me. Like I said, your goddess is a star. I have no problem admitting that. But she's not fooling me all the way. Okay. Phaedra, you get a D. Girl, no personal story. You were like on mute for like the first 12 episodes. I'm like, why is she here? Why is she one of the highest paid on this cast? Why does she have a guaranteed contract according to you from last season? Like, why? Why? Like, who in the Bravo executive system is in your pocket? Because you're not needed. I did appreciate moments of you, again, the sisterhood moments. You might have said something funny in one or two confessionals, but girl, you put on a terrible group trip and you just weren't needed. This was a really big cast this season, and Phaedra, we didn't need you. Sorry. Drew, I'm giving you a B. Again, we saw some flickers of authentic moments. I liked how you ate Shamia and K. Michelle up and made them scurry away in the national anthem episode. You gave us some looks. That face card is always there. But I think like your biggest shortcoming was I think you were so excited to be like back in Portia's good graces that you just seemed like a follower this season. And so when you do that, you're just easily forgettable. So just watch that, Drew. And also that whole that horse thing, that was weird. Like, you don't need to do antics like that. Like, just be real and you'll be good. But when you do too much, that's when I'm like, girl. If you come back this season, I don't want anything to do with family planning or Gerald. Gerald is terrible on camera. And, you cannot have a third season of these, like, family planning drama issues. I saw in the finale that your surrogate was pregnant, so congratulations to you. I pray all the best. I hope things go amazingly. I just don't want to see it. Let us know when the beautiful baby is here, and God bless, but get another thing to talk about. And I think, like, your personal downfall has just been, like, how you navigated this group. I feel like you're always sitting on ready, and you're always ready to go toe-to-toe, and then you want to apologize the next minute, and then you apologize too much. I think that you were really, really pressed, and I think this is what happens in that dynamic of, like, the head mean girl and the flunky, where the head mean girl, Portia, is able to pay you dust and do whatever, and you are way more invested into Portia than Portia ever was in you. And so now that the friendship is broken up, she's just skating along and living her best life, and you are like in shambles. You need to suck that up and pay her the same dust back. Because if Portia comes in, you are clearly pressed, you're looking around, you're trying to jump in and trying to make her laugh. Angela, I'm giving you a C-. I've talked about you this whole time, and why you've clicked down for me, that's why. You were great last season. You clicked down a lot this season. Kelly, I'm going to give you a C+. I don't understand the, like, vitriol against Kelly. A personality like Kelly is needed on any franchise. She's an agitator. She's going to get you activated. She's going to do something memorable, whether it's annoying, whether it's corny, whether it's funny and it lands. She's going to be memorable. Yes, she's going to have tacky fashions. She was doing a lot in these confessionals with her legs up in the air, whatever. But I will say, when you strip the costume down, I think she is, like, a good person. And I think she, is a fighter and will stand up for herself. And I think last season she got on my nerves and was a little bit more of like a flip-flopper, follower, blow with the wind type chick. And I feel like she found her footing a little bit more this season. So, like, I just think someone like her needs to come back because she's an agitator to, your fave. So you need that. You can't have just the Go Naked crew sitting around braiding each other's wigs. That's not a show. You need someone to like come in and add some gasoline to the fire, wake them up, poke the bear, and have them go toe to toe. And I think she also gave a lot of personal story. Again, we already talked about that. I think she needs to come back. The woe is me the woe is me personal stories, didn't land too much with me, but that's life. So while her story wasn't the most entertaining, it wasn't the most aspiring, I think she held her own this season overall. And I think deep down she is like a good person. She definitely does give Fan a lot. And so I dock some points for that as well. Where it's like she's been a fan just like I have been. And so it's a little weird when she says things about the show that when she wasn't on, or she'll have like different one-liners from before she was on the show. So it's things like that I'm like, eh. But overall, I think she's okay, and I would not mind if she came back. I think she does need to come back. Pinky, I'm going to give you a C. We talked about you. You were all over the place, but I think you made it up in the second half of the season, so I'm giving you right down the middle a C. K. Michelle, D-. I have no idea. Girl, you have given delusional, mean girl, male-centeredness, white-centeredness. You have given that you were afraid of Portia. You have given you let me down, man. You let a lot of people that were rooting for you down. I think you had written something that you were sick or whatever, but you weren't that sick when you were jumping up at Drew. So it's like, girl, I guess. And it's like you weren't that sick because weren't you saying on Watch What Happens Live that you want some other type of elective surgery? So it's like either you're sick or you're not. I don't want to hear the like, oh, well, I was quiet because I was sick and I was quiet because of this. Girl, stop. It was you want to shake the table on Love and Hip Hop, but then you want to, when the girls get a little heated at a dinner table in episode 1, it's, oh my God, I'm not used to this. What is this? You just argue and then you make up? Oh my gosh, what is, girl, okay. It was weird. You had a couple of things that were kind of funny, but in the confessional, but you were just mute 90% of the time. You were mute in the scenes. You just didn't make sense. You were a big ball of weird. I don't want you back. I don't want your weird husband on there. Y'all can just go and have your threesomes and fivesums off my screen. Cynthia, I'm going to give you a grade even though you're not a peach holder, but girl, you are Cynthia Cheekbones Bailey. And you, my friend, I really, really loved you in the beginning half of the season. And I think just the second half, you just gave follower. It seemed like you were following a script to just always defend Portia and always add some seed of doubt with Shamia. And it's like, it's okay if you don't like Shamia. It's okay if you, like, I want you to just be real with it. And I feel like you're just very sneaky. And you always come in under the guise of like, oh, everyone's my friend and I'm the glue of the group. And I'm just, I'm always in the middle. I'm Miss Neutral. It's okay if you say, nah, Portia's my girl. I don't F with Shamia. And that's that. That's fine, and I would respect that. But I feel like you come in under the guise of being very objective and neutral, but then like your behavior says otherwise. And so I gotta call you out there, Miss Cynthia. So final thoughts. Overall, solid season. Season 17 was way better than season 16. I think it is on its way to get back on top of the Housewives franchise where it deserves to be. But there are major changes that need to happen. We need to cut this cast down. It's way too many people. Production needs to tighten the up, okay? Tighten up production. I think we probably need to get a new production crew, but whatever. We need to tell these stories more effectively, more cohesively, and the cast needs to be authentic. Stop with the lazy reads, stop with the rehearsed reads, and I think we can go even higher than we did this season. K. Michelle and Shamia, y'all can go. Phaedra, you can go as well, but I know you're a Bravo darling or NBC darling, so at least demote her. You are not needed as a full-time housewife. You don't want to Anyway, yeah. And I don't think we need to add anyone. This is already a dynamic cast. I think we need better production and better storytelling to have the cast minus K. Michelle and Shamia, have the cast work out whatever they're doing. I don't think we need any more shakeups. Let's see what this cast can work with for another season before we do anything else. But I think we need to cut some of this dead weird weight off, and let's start with Shamia and K. Michelle. Like the video if you made it this far, and just let me know. Did season 17 deliver, or are we still waiting for Atlanta to fully find its footing again? Let me know, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.